ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। So on page 1 is the first Dhyan shloka and on page 9 is the last one, if you have the book. ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीं अम्बत्वानं संदधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुवन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। So here in the second chapter we find that Arjun, having become completely dejected and despondent, he has come down from the chariot. His entire personality has been shattered. Physically he is at the feet of Shri Krishna with tears in his eyes, emotionally very overwhelmed, intellectually completely confused about what he should be doing. And in that state when he is there, Shri Krishna whips him out of his stupor. He tells him that you are acting like a eunuch. This does not befit you. Invoke your own inner strength. Don't give excuses that situation is not conducive. It is your weakness of heart. Shudram hridaya daurbalyam. It is your weakness of heart. Give up that weakness of heart and arise, O Parantapa. Having told that to Arjun, Arjun finally admits that actually my problem is Bhishma and Drona. How can I kill both of them? They are so worshipful. And so we saw the last verse was the verse number 4. He says they are worthy of worship. Even in a dream I can't imagine insulting them verbally. Here I have to kill them with the arrows. So this is I am confused because of this. I am not able to do my duty. One or two more verses, he continues that same thought. And finally now in the verse number 7, he surrenders to Shri Krishna. This is one of the most important verses of the Gita. Karpanyadoshopahatah svabhavah Pritchami tvam dharma sammudha-chetaha यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् Finally, Arjun surrenders here. Shri Krishna and Arjun, both of them have been together since childhood. But till Arjun has not formally surrendered to Shri Krishna and asked for the guidance and this knowledge is not available to him. So first point to understand is that spiritual knowledge, we have to have a demand for it and ask for it. And somebody went and asked Swami Chindananji, Swamiji, please touch my head and may I get spiritual knowledge. So please bless me with spiritual knowledge. So he said, no. Spiritual knowledge can never be given. You have to take it. You have to ask for it. You have to take it. Somebody touching our head, and Arjun, Bhagavan could have just touched Arjun's head, Clarity dawn suddenly. 18 chapters of Gita not required. And if he had, how many times he would have touched his head from childhood? Why would he even have fallen into delusion? But he fell into delusion, accepted his ignorance, now he is there to surrender. And then the knowledge comes. So here Arjun has surrendered to Shri Krishna. And we see that out of the three characters, all of them are deluded. But because Arjun surrenders and is ready to follow the instructions, he is able to get out of it. So earlier he had justified his arguments. Then Bhagavan whipped him out of that state so that he can make him ready for the higher knowledge. And because Bhagavan whipped him up, he accepted his mistake. And he said, yes, Bhishma and Drona, they are my attachments. And now, having said all that, he completely surrenders now, saying, okay, now I am karpanya dosho pahata svabhava. I am overwhelmed by this sense of miserliness. Kripana means a miser. Karpanya is miserliness. So who is a miser? Somebody who does not use his resources even for his own basic necessity. He is a miser. Has lots of money but does not use it even for basic necessity. Guru used to say that some miser is a guy who has all the capacities, all the potential, all the resources, but just does not use it for his own. They say he will not go and buy the food. He will go in front of the restaurant and smell, because that is free. Such is a miser. Meaning who will not use his resources for his own benefit. Why is Arjun saying karpanya dosha? Because he has all the skill and the capacities, but he is not able to invoke that for his own clarity. And he is overcome by this sense of misplaced compassion towards his own people. There is one meaning, that I am overwhelmed by emotion so strongly that I am not able to use my resources, that is my buddhi. So I can't think clearly. In the Upanishads, there is a definition of Kripana. Who is a Kripana? In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a definition which says that having got a human birth, a person who does not strive to know the truth, that person is a Kripana. He is a miser. Why? Because one is blessed with this intellect only in the human birth. In the modern language, people call it self-awareness. That self-awareness is there only in human life. That I am aware that I am a human being, and then I can consciously choose my experiences in life, and I can speed up my evolution. Till the human birth, evolution is not in our hands. We can't speed it up. Nature has to push, 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 and takes millions of years. Then one comes to the first human birth. But in the human birth, we have a buddhi. We are blessed with an intellect by which I can choose. That buddhi which I can use, the speciality of the buddhi is not only that I am aware of who I am, but I can feel my own limitation. And I have Vivek Shakti by which I can discriminate between what is real and unreal and come to know that which is real, which is the truth. If I don't use that, then I am being a miser. That which is such a precious resource which I can use to liberate myself from the sense of finitude, sense of limitation, attachments, from all these. Not only I don't use that, but I use it in such a way that instead of getting free, I get more and more bound. So the same thing which can bind me, can liberate me, binds me now. Hence he says, I am totally overwhelmed by this sense of miserliness because I don't know now what to do. My intellect is clouded. And he accepts that he is being petty. Kripana also means being very petty, small-minded. He says, I am thinking very small. Because he knows that he is supposed to be there as a warrior to protect dharma. Many times we know what is our duty. We know this is the call of the duty, this is what I have to do, but we don't like it. And we give some petty small excuses, somehow get out of that situation. But deep down we know that this is not right. I am supposed to do this. So that is called miserliness, pettiness. So he says, Karpanya dosha upahata swabhava. This is not my nature. But my nature, my swabhav is right now completely overwhelmed by this pettiness, miserliness. And whenever we are attached to something, we come into this state. Whatever that attachment can be. Attachment, the stronger it is, quicker we will come to karpanya. And it will lead us to sorrow. In fact, many times it is a great cause, many big opportunities and great things that I could do. We compromise with that for some petty little attachment. It may not even be worth it. I keep giving the same examples again and again, but just to hammer that point. Good health, all that, mental peace is so much more important. But what will we give into? Pettiness, attachment to sleep, 10 more minutes. Petty, small little. Or given to a temptation to eat sweet. I know that I have diabetes, but still, I know that gossiping is not good, but some stupid pleasure, gossiping one day I saw. While just putting somebody else down, I feel, wow, I am so great. One knows all that. And such good talk one can have, constructive talk and creative thinking and so many things one can do, but all that will be left aside, some petty little gossip. So whenever I am attached to something, I will end up in karpanya. So if I am in a state of this karpanya, pettiness, it means I am holding on to something which is very low, which is very ordinary. And it's a pity really if one is doing that by compromising something which is so sacred or so high. So many people have, in our country, many times we have been conquered, not because we were weak, because some fool would have given into some pettiness for little more money, that's all. If you see this Great Wall of China, the Great Wall of China is made in such a way that it is inconquerable. And yet, ultimately the enemies broke through and went in. How? Some fellow had that weakness for money. They bribed him, he easily went inside. Otherwise, China was very safe and secure, protected. Enemies can't even enter there. How many times they tried? That's pettiness. Even today you see what is happening all around. Is it not petty? How many crores and crores of rupees people have, but still pettiness, small thinking, compromise with the integrity of the nation only. So whenever there is this attachment which is there, one will fall into this state of pettiness. One becomes helpless victim. This is karpanya dosha upahata swabhava. Prichhami tvam dharma sammudha cheta. I am asking you because I am deluded now. Dharma sammudha. Moha means delusion. Sammoha means completely deluded. About what? Dharma. Now I don't know, this word dharma here has two meanings. That I don't know what is my duty immediately, because one meaning of word dharma is duty. Then what should I do? Should I fight this war or should I not fight this war? You see, moha is something, an attachment is something which is so strange that in the most clear situation also it will confuse you. Now where is the need for any confusion here? There is no need for any confusion. Everything has been done. All means of peace have been tried. Nothing is working. Now war is inevitable. He has to just fight. Over. Now suddenly he comes into confusion. Should I kill my own people? Is it right to kill? Will it not be himsa? All kinds of confusion. Why? Only because attachment. If Bhishma and Drona were not there, or if Bhishma and Drona were fighting from his side, this situation only would not have arisen. He would have finished them in one day, over. So, even in the most clear situation, moha is something which will create this confusion. And now we look at his condition now. He says, I don't know what to do. Should I fight or should I not fight? In the earlier verse number 6, actually he says it's better to go away to the forest and live in Bhiksha. And he says, I don't know whether it is better to fight here or better to go to forest. I don't know which is clear, which is better. In that state of dharma sammudha he is there now. So one meaning of that is, I don't know what is my duty. Another meaning of the word dharma is, he doesn't know who he is truly. Swarupa dharma he doesn't know. But what is his swarupa? That's an interpretation. Taking a little deeper meaning of the word dharma. Dharma means the essential nature of anything is called as the dharma, without which that thing will not exist. So sweetness is the dharma of sugar, heat is the dharma of fire, coolness is the dharma of water, which is the basic essential nature of that thing, without which that thing will not exist. Same way, what is that which is my essential nature, without which I don't exist? It is not the body, it is not the mind, it is not the intellect. It is who I am, which is enlivening this body, mind and intellect. That Atma, that Swarupa of mine, this is only a Rupa. I know the Rupa, but I don't know the Swarupa. So he says, Dharma Sammudha Cheta. I don't know what is my real Dharma, Swarupa Dharma. So now, because I am confused, what should I do? He says, Yat Shreya Syat. Whatever is the best for me, Nishchitam Bruhitam. You please tell this to me decisively. Now, this is one good thing that he has asked. That what is Shreya, what is best for me, that you tell me. I may not like it. It may not be pleasant for me, but this is best for me. Shreyas means that which is good or the best for me. Preyas means that which is pleasant. So he doesn't ask, tell me something which is pleasing to hear. Many times people come to satsang for that. So they want to hear something which is so pleasing, so soothing, comforting. And if it feeds their thinking, they will take that much only and go. And the moment some point like that comes now, the neighbor is sitting or the spouse is sitting. See, I told you. The idea of the satsang is not because it is just pleasing. Many people go and do that. You ask them, what did the speaker speak today? You know, speaker spoke so well today. What did he speak? That I don't know. That I can't reproduce. Then why did you go to satsang? Kaan pavitra ho gaye. Many people attend satsang to purify their ears. Especially if you see this common lots of kathas which happen. Many people, if you ask them, ये क्यों गए थे कथा में? कान पवित्र करने को गए थे. In Bhakti literature, that has an importance that Bhagavan enters your heart through the ear. By the stories and the leelas of Bhagavan, when you hear, he enters into your heart, then devotion will grow. That there is an importance for that. But how many people actually go to satsang to see themselves in a mirror? A satsang is like a mirror. Straight, you will see, okay, these are my flaws, these are my attachments, these are my strengths, everything. Satsang will be just like a mirror. In fact, Shastra is a mirror. Gita is a mirror, Upanishad is a mirror. All these are mirrors to show us who we are right now and also show us what is our actual nature. So Shreyas, whenever one goes to satsang, one should ask. In fact, one of the saints used to say that going to satsang is like a boxing match. In a boxing match, if you don't get beaten and if you don't bleed, is that a match? That is not a match. He says if you don't bleed in satsang, that means your satsang was not successful. You should get hit 2-3 solid blows. When you go out of the satsang, you feel, oh my God. One has to feel that this way of living is not appropriate. I must change this way of living and live a better integrated life. Then that satsang is fulfilled. So the idea is he asks, luckily he asks, even in his confused state he says, please tell me what is the best for me. Yat shreyasya nishchitam bruhitam. And you decide and tell me because I am in an indecisive state. Why should you tell me? Now he says, Shishyasteham, because I am your Shishya. Formally he accepts and surrenders and he asks for the knowledge and he accepts Sri Krishna as his Guru. See, that formal relationship is very important between the teacher and the student for the knowledge to pass. Especially if the person is known to you. Because it's tendency of human mind to take anybody for granted. So mind will still say, Arey, ye to Krishna hai na. I played with him, I know him. But he is now not your friend. He is working, right now he is your teacher. In fact, Bhagavan will say to Arjuna also later on that you are my bhakta and you are my sakha. You are my devotee also and you are my friend also now. But here he has to surrender. So Shishyasteham. And who is a Shishya? One who is ready to be instructed is called as a Shishya. Who goes there with an open mind, is ready to follow instruction. One meaning of Shishya is that. Shishya is not somebody who just, okay, I paid the fees, I have come to the Gurukul, now you have to teach me. No, Shishya is one who is open, ready to follow instruction, who has accepted that, okay, I don't know, and now I want to learn. With that humility and that openness, one who goes there is called as a Shishya. And second meaning of Shishya is one who is able to control the senses and turn the attention of the mind within. That person is called as a Shishya. Because in spiritual knowledge that is important. Because this knowledge is not passing on of the information. So Gurudev always said that this is not a knowledge which is from the lip of the teacher to the ear of the student. It is from the heart of the teacher to the heart of the student. So the person must be available. How will the person be available? Only if the mind and the senses are controlled well. Otherwise mind and senses are out. Then that person is not a Shishya. So it is said there are 4 types of Shishyas. Example is given, analogy. First type of Shishya, the best type of Shishya is a person who is like petrol. So petrol, the moment it comes in contact with air, what happens? Evaporates. So the best type of student is one who has bare minimum ego and vasanas. The moment that person comes in touch with the teacher and the knowledge is given to him, disappears. Ego disappears, person knows the truth. The seekers of the Upanishad are of that type. Second type of student is like the dry twigs. So the dry twigs are ready to catch fire. So as soon as the spark is lit, very soon they catch fire and the whole thing gets burned. It will take little more time than the petrol. So second type of disciple is like that. Little effort from the guru is required, little more effort from the disciple is required, person will know the truth. Third type of student is like charcoal. This charcoal, it takes time to light the fire. For the charcoal to catch fire, it takes some time. And then what happens with that charcoal is, as it is burning, there will be some ash. And sometime as the charcoal burns, there will be the ash which will cover the charcoal only. Which means that the fire will become dim. So if the charcoal is to be used, then you have to keep fanning that charcoal. So that ash will fly. And with the ash some sparks also will fly here and there. But the ash has to move away. Then the fire will remain bright. So there are some disciples who are like that. The knowledge is given. They take some time to catch that. But their own indulgence and their own tendencies of extrovertedness again cover the knowledge. Again the guru has to put the effort. So that keeps happening. Fourth type of disciple is like the stalk of a plantain tree. Have you seen the stalk of a plantain tree? This much. They cut it in this much sizes and is available in the market also. It is filled with water. You can cut it and make vegetable out of it. It is filled with lots of water. How much ever the guru tries, nothing happens. Because the water is so much that the fire it will just not catch fire. The fourth type of disciple is like that. So much of extrovertedness, just not possible to. You tell them come to satsang once, you try once. They will not come. Very difficult. Because the mind is not yet wanting it. It's extrovert. So that way, here Arjuna is luckily he is surrendered. He is ready to follow instructions. So he says, Shishyasteham Shadhimam, please instruct me. Tvam prapannam, I take refuge in you. This is his surrender. In Hindi, this word surrender is very good. What is surrender? Sar, andar. Our sar keeps coming up all the time. Andar matlab kahan par? At the feet of the Guru. Andar. Sar, andar. Or sar, under. Under the feet of the Guru is sar, under. Sar, under means turn within. Surrender to the Lord in your own heart. So finally Arjuna surrendered to Sri Krishna. Now this surrender of Arjuna has happened over a period of time. See, always remember, surrender doesn't happen in one instant, just like that. Because the ego is very strong, very powerful. There's a beautiful description of Arjuna's surrender. Akhandanand Maharaj gives that description in this. He has written a small book which they have published. It is called Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. On that he has given talk, that surrender unto me alone, one of the expressions of the Gita. So in that he explains that how Arjuna's surrender has happened in different stages, and here this is a culmination. It is not that here only he started the surrender. His first step in surrender started when Duryodhan and Arjuna, both of them went to Sri Krishna to ask him for support for fighting the war. He had one Akshavini Sena, Sri Krishna. So they both go there. Duryodhan reaches first and he sits near the head of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna is sleeping that time. And Arjuna goes afterwards and he sits at the feet of Sri Krishna. So when Bhagavan opens his eyes, he sees Arjun first. But Duryodhana takes the claim, no, I have come first. He says, no, but I saw Arjun first, so I will give him the choice. And the choice is, I will fight without weapons. I will be there on your side, but I will not fight and I will not lift weapons. And second is my whole army. And Duryodhana wonders, oh God, now what is this fellow going to choose? And like you see that, कौन बनेगा करोड़पति? 1 crore के लिए जवाब. And then person is not sure of it and he attempts and he gives the jawab and then heart is beating. क्या होगा? So Duryodhana is like that. What will he choose? I hope he doesn't choose the army. I hope he doesn't choose the army. And Krishna, Arjun doesn't have to think twice also. He says, Bhagavan, I choose you. His surrender happens, starts there first. So first he chose Bhagavan. His journey of surrender is our journey of surrender actually. Every moment we have a choice. Do we choose Bhagavan or do we choose his Maya? We have a choice. Every moment. This whole world is his Maya. Bhagavan says you choose anything. Our Guruji, Swami Tejomayanand ji, he is our present head of Chinmaya Mission. He says very nicely that we all campaign for God but vote for Maya. We all campaign for God but we vote for Maya. Arjun campaigned for God and voted also for God only. First step of his surrender. So every minute I have a choice. Then do I do my action remembering Bhagavan or do I do my action to boost the ego? When we say that choose Bhagavan and not the Maya, doesn't mean drop all the activities of the world and only do bhajan. No. Everything that I do in this world, I can do with that bhavana that I am doing it as my service to the Lord. There was one lady, doctor. She went to Gurudev Swami Chinmayanand and said, Swamiji, I am a homemaker. I have to get up in the morning, cook everything, send my children, send my husband, everything. Then I am a doctor, so after that I go to the clinic and I treat all the patients there. Then I come back home, then I start cooking. And whole day goes like this only. Where is the time to do my sadhana? He said, Amma, don't worry. You treat your children and everybody as Narayana, that you are cooking for Bhagavan only. And when you write a prescription, above every prescription that you write Om. So if you are treating 20 patients in a day, 20 times you have already written Om. So that itself is your sadhana. And remember that whoever is coming is Bhagavan himself in another form. So you are serving Bhagavan. As long as you have that bhavana that I am serving Bhagavan, that is enough. That is your sadhana, that is done. That is called choosing the Lord, not his Maya. Because then I don't strengthen the ego, I weaken the ego. So first step of Arjun's surrender is he chose Bhagavan, not the Sena. Okay, he chose Bhagavan, he could have kept Bhagavan anywhere in the army. Okay, you handle this. But he made Bhagavan his charioteer and gave the reins of his chariot in the hands of Bhagavan. So I may choose Bhagavan, but what is the sign of my surrender? Is Bhagavan driving my life? Or my ego, my desires, my attachment driving my life? Who is the driver in my life? In my buddhi, does Bhagavan have space? Or we have given space to everybody else? And when it comes to Bhagavan, there is space accommodation problem. I don't have place. Because there are so many desires filling my head. Bhagavan has no place. Consciously I give the charge of my life to the Lord, saying to Bhagavan, you are the doer. When we say he made Bhagavan the charioteer, means what? He gave Bhagavan the control of his buddhi. In buddhi has the sense of doership, that I am the doer, I did this, without me this will not happen and I should enjoy this. That doership which is there is very strong. Given away to Bhagavan. Bhagavan does everything. So having given the control of the chariot to the Lord, and Bhagavan also is so kind that Bhagavan becomes his charioteer. If you see Bhagavan's life, every role that Bhagavan has played, he played it to perfection. As a charioteer, he did everything. Imagine the Lord of the universe is the charioteer of Arjuna. And Arjuna says, Senayor Ubhayor Madhya Ratham Sthapaya. Please place my chariot in between the two armies. Bhagavan listens as a charioteer. Takes place. And it is said, look at the compassion of the Lord. After a whole day's fight, the rules are such that the war has to happen only between sunrise and sunset. If you see Mahabharata, our civilization was so advanced that there are specific rules for the war also. A charioteer can fight only with a charioteer. You cannot attack a person who is on the foot, on the ground, if you are on the chariot. One person will fight only with one person on the ground. So you can't go from behind and kill and attack and all that, you can't do. Many rules like that. So between dusk and dawn only they have to fight. Dawn and dusk they have to fight. And the best part is, after dusk, you can go into each other's camp also. There is no problem. They are not scared of spying and all that. So in the night, when everybody used to go to sleep, what would Bhagavan do? He would massage the horses, wash them completely, give them grass to eat, pick out all the arrows, all that. Bhagavan, the Lord of the universe, is doing that. If somebody tells us, एक glass पानी लाओ, मैं क्यों लाऊं? नौकर को बोलो. Look at that. Lord of the universe playing the role of a charioteer. He does everything. So humble. So that Lord, to him Arjuna gave the control of the chariot, made him the charioteer. So buddhi is Bhagavan in my buddhi. Many times in the heart we say that I love God. But in the head, I. So much of I. Ego. That's why Bhagavan says in the 12th chapter, surrender your mind unto me, mayyeva mana ajatsva, mayi buddhim niveshas. Surrender your intellect also. Then if both these happen, then what happens? Nivasishyasi mayyeva. You will be in me. You will become one with me. And we find Arjuna finally becomes one with Bhagavan. So here he gives the control of his chariot to the Lord. Second step. Third step, he has given the control of the chariot to the Lord, but he is still facing the enemy. In the third step, he comes down from the chariot and he sits facing the Lord, not the world. That is the transformation in a seeker, that I have given the control to the Lord. Let me turn. Let me become introverted. And he surrenders to the Lord. Having done that, he completely opens himself up, saying, Bhagavan, I am very dejected, I am depressed, I don't know what to do now. And he has no false pride. So he cries also in front of the Lord. He doesn't feel that I am the greatest archer of that time, and how can I cry? Nothing. He opens up. In front of the Lord, one should just open up. That Bhagavan, this is who I am. There is no need of hiding anything. There is no need of a false mask. There is no need to pretend in front of the Lord that, oh Lord, I am so good and I am this, I am this, I am nothing. Go as you are. So he opens himself up to the Lord. And then he asks for this guidance. In this shloka, he surrenders, saying, I am completely confused, I don't know. Now I become your Shishya. Please instruct me, please guide me. So if you see in the Gita, in the 4th chapter, there is a shloka of how a disciple goes to a student. And 3 points are given there. What are the 3 points? He says, Tad Viddhi Pranipatena. First you go and surrender. Then Pariprashna. You ask questions. And then Seva. There the Seva means you live that knowledge. That is the Seva. What you have gained after the satsang and questioning, you live that knowledge. So here Arjuna has done that. Pranipata is done. Now Pariprashna will happen. Now when Bhagavan gives him knowledge, he will ask questions. And because he has surrendered, the questions that he is asking are also with that intention to know. Otherwise, many times people don't ask questions because they want to know or they want to get clarity. They ask questions because they want to show how great they are. So they'll ask some question. Cook up some complicated question and then ask. Or they want to test the speaker. Let us see whether the person knows or not. Or they want a verification of their own answer. So sometimes they ask, Swamiji, I have asked this question to many Mahatmas. Then why are you asking me? That means you are not interested in the answer. You are interested in... Sometimes they just love their question. They just keep on asking the same question to everybody. Or they have a specific answer and no Mahatma has given that answer. So is coming and asking. Nothing. Pariprashna means you ask to know. Why? Because one has surrendered. So Arjuna surrendered here and he says, Shishyasteham Shadhimam. I am your Shishya. I am ready to be instructed. Prapannam. This word prapatti is a very nice word. Prapatti means so there are 2 types of surrender. One surrender is called like a, the monkey, the baby monkey. So when the baby monkey is there and this mother monkey has to go from one branch to another, the baby monkey has to hold the mother very tightly because the mother is going to jump. So that is one type of surrender, where the devotee has to put efforts and hold on to the feet of the Lord. And I have to do the sadhana, I have to do the surrender, I have to do everything. I have to hold on to Bhagavan's feet. But the second type of surrender is like the kitten. The kitten which is there does not have to do anything. That kitten has to just let go. And the mother cat will lift that kitten and take the kitten and put it somewhere else. The kitten has to just be. It looks like, kitten type of surrender is so good. We don't have to do anything. Bhagavan will do everything. But try. That is most difficult to do, to let go, because we don't know what is happening. Our ego will keep coming up. पता नहीं क्या कर रहे हैं भगवान सुन रहे हैं कि नहीं सुन रहे हैं वो तो ध्यान में होंगे I don't understand whether he even come to my rescue. Our ego will keep doubting. Most difficult it is. That is called prapatti. Where I don't have to put effort. I have to completely surrender. Bhagwan, you take care, I have come to your rescue. Now you do everything. Does not mean that Bhagwan will do everything by miracle. He makes Arjun go through the whole process and churning and everything happens. But here it is. So whenever I am in confusion, suppose I don't know what is right, wrong, I can chant this verse and I can open up myself saying, Bhagwan, dharma sammudha cheta. I don't know what is right and wrong. Shishyasteham shadhi. I am your disciple. Please instruct me. What is the right thing? What happens with surrender is, I get out of my own ego. What was not clear to me because of my ego becomes very clear to me. The moment I rise above the ego and I see the same situation after that, it becomes very clear. Trapped inside my ego, I can't see clearly. So I am justifying my own notions. But when I surrender, I get out of my ego, saying, Bhagwan, you please explain to me what is the right thing to do. And I open up myself. So this is one verse, which is a very important verse, where one can surrender to the Lord, one can surrender to the Guru, accepting in humility that I don't know. And when there is that feeling that I don't know, one should seek guidance. And when you seek that guidance, open up and present what is the situation of your heart. And once that is done, be ready to receive the instructions and follow them. So all that Arjuna has done here. And hence, it is that he has opened up his gates for knowledge. And now Bhagavan will give the knowledge. But even here, the surrender is maybe 90% complete. There's still one 10% which is left. Because he doesn't have the complete knowledge. That's why his surrender is also not complete. So though he surrenders here completely, we can't say it is complete surrender. He is surrendering to his best capacity. At the end of the Gita, his surrender becomes total. Because there Bhagavan gives him the freedom. That now I have given to you all that which I have to be told. Now you do what you feel like. And Arjuna says that I shall do what you have instructed. Karishye vachanam tava. There his instruction, there his surrender becomes total. Till then, the best surrender is possible, he is capable of, that much he has done. So in this 7th verse now, having surrendered to the Lord, one thing we have to remember very, very clearly, that this kind of a surrender and this kind of a availability of a Guru or the Lord as the teacher does not happen because of our karma. It happens because of the Kripa of the Lord and Karuna of the Sadguru. If these two are there on us, then such a situation happens. This is for us to understand that this student and teacher relationship is maintained from the standpoint of the student. From the teacher standpoint, there is no relationship. Why? Because from the teacher standpoint, the student also is the Lord only, an expression of the Lord only. So there is no confusion from the teacher standpoint or from the Lord standpoint. But from the student standpoint, the whole relationship is there, that I have surrendered, now please give me knowledge. When the knowledge the student gets, that's why in that Nirvan Shakam Shankaracharya ji writes, Na bandhur na mitram gurur naiva shishya chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. In that state of knowledge, there is no relationship, no guru, no shishya, nothing. There is only one truth which is expressing as all this. So from the standpoint of Sri Krishna, there is no transaction also happening. There is only one absolute truth, changeless. But yes, from the standpoint of the student, it is there. So always we should remember that who needs whom. It is the student who needs the teacher. If this point is understood by us very clearly, we will ever remain humble. Our ego will not come up. There are enough teachers who have, enough students who have not understood that point. And a point comes where they think that the teacher needs me and that I am indispensable for the teacher. And they have brought about their own downfall. Some of them have left the teacher in arrogance also, saying that I have gained more knowledge than the teacher now. I know more than the teacher. Went. So one has to understand this. When he says, Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam, that I am your disciple, I am ready to be instructed, and I need the teacher. Otherwise, teacher was all along with him. Krishna was all along with him every time. He could have just asked any time, but this time he has understood his problem and he has come to feel that I don't know. Now he surrenders. Now, having done that, in the 9th verse, he throws away his bow and arrow. Finally, Sanjay reports to him that Arjuna surrendered like this to Sri Krishna. Now what does he say? Sanjaya uvacha eva muktva hrishikesham Gudakesha parantapaha नयोत्स्य इति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः. Says Sanjaya explains this to Dhritarashtra. Evam uktva, having said this, Rishikesham, to the Lord Rishikesha. Rishika is the senses and Isha is the Lord. So the Lord of the senses. So to the Lord of the senses, meaning the Lord who is in our own heart, indweller. Gudakesha, Arjuna is called as Gudakesha. That is one of the name of Arjuna. This has three meanings. Gudakesha means one whose hair are curled up. Because in the war, earlier they also used to have, men used to have long hair. Then they used to, for the war they have to curl it up. One meaning is that. Second meaning is, Gudaka means Lord Shiva. And Isha means the Lord. So one who prayed to the Lord and obtained the Pashupadastra is Arjuna. So Gudakesha, meaning Lord Shiva is his Ishtadevata. The third meaning is the most beautiful one. Gudaka means sleep and Isha means master. So Arjuna is the master of sleep. Sleep. One who is very, very alert. Master of sleep meaning master of all the senses. So if you master sleep, you are master of all the senses. So he is one who has mastered sleep. Even in the night he used to be able to practice archery in the pitch darkness. And many times he has practiced that. So one who is a master of sleep. Now, such a person who has senses in his control, whose power of concentration is a legend. We know that story, right? With that eye of that bird. Now, he has mastery over his senses. His power of concentration is so high. He is a friend of Sri Krishna. He has done so much of tapas, acquired divine weapons. He has pleased Lord Shiva. And such a person can fall into delusion. What to talk about you and I? Imagine. This man has gone into delusion. So he, Parantapa, and he is Parantapa. He is a very great, who has done great tapas. What does he do? Na yotsye. He resigns totally now. In the first chapter, he only came down from the chariot and he threw away the bow and the arrow. And with tears in his eyes, he was sitting at the feet of Krishna. He did not say, I will not fight. Now, I will not fight. Complete resignation. I just don't want to fight. Nayotsya iti govindam uktva tushnim babhuva. Having said that, finally he became silent. Tushnim babhuva. Last class we spoke about it. Right? Till we keep talking, Bhagavan keeps listening. One good thing about Bhagavan is we have to accept, we have to learn from Bhagavan is how to be a good listener. Keeps on listening. The whole world keeps talking anything to you. You go to the temple and you just watch. Bhagavan will just sit like that. Everybody will come muttering something, talking something, telling something, cursing him. Anything they do. So that's why Gurudev used to say that we don't pray to God, we P-R-E-Y, pray on God. Bhagavan is sitting there, just listening. Tell whatever you want to tell, you tell. And we don't give chance for Bhagavan to speak. Bhagavan, now you speak. Tell whatever you have to tell, break some coconut, light some lamp, take one vibhuti, apply it, go out. So Bhagavan says, okay, go. Now Arjuna becomes silent. Now Bhagavan's discourse will start. But before he starts, there is a beautiful verse again now. Here he just gives a smile. Tamuvacha Rishikeshaha प्रहसन्निव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये स्थाप्यविषीदन्तमिदं वचः Tam uvacha Hrishikesha. To this dejected, depressed Arjun who has completely resigned, Hrishikesha spoke. But before speaking, what did he do? Prahasanniva. As though he gave him a smile. What is that smile? Smile is not of pity, but the smile is of why are you suffering for no reason. It is not out of sarcasm also. That's why the word iva is used. He as though smiled. Meaning, where is there a problem? From the standpoint of the student, there is a huge problem. And from the standpoint of the teacher, there is no problem. So like a small child who comes to mommy with a big problem. Mommy just smiles, what is this fellow? Such a small kid, not even a big problem. That fellow took away my chocolate and mommy just smiles. Wow. Arjun is like that. Crying, weeping away, and Bhagavan, just imagine the reaction. Bhagavan just like as though he smiles at him. Prahasanniva. From Vedantic standpoint, if somebody says that I am bit by a snake and this poison is going up and very soon I am going to die and then that froth also starts coming out. But the person who doesn't see the snake but sees that there is a rope only, from that person's standpoint, one can only smile to look at the mental imaginations of this man. But there is just a rope there. But he is thinking that there is a snake and the snake has bit him and then now he is going to die and all kinds of anxieties and fears and everything. So Bhagavan just smiles at him. That where is the problem? There is no problem. But the mind which is confused will create a problem. So Bhagavan says now, Senayo Ubhayor Madhye Vishidantam Idam Macha. To this Arjun who was despondent in between the two armies, this is what Bhagavan said. So what Bhagavan said to him, if you want to know, come back on Friday. The best answer Bhagavan gave. Straight, top level answer. If Arjun had applied that answer, his problem would have been dissolved. Forget getting solved. No problem after that. So anyway, that we will see on Friday. You have